What's up, everybody? This is Brandon Lindsay with the REHABBER'S Playbook. The following video is a very fun conversation I had with two really good friends of mine in the real estate space. One is Lindy Pond of Truly Mortgage. She is a lender and my go-to person for real estate market insights and updates. And the other is Alie Murphy, the CEO and owner of Finish Green, which is a premier CRM for real estate investors and real estate professionals. And she is also my go-to person when it comes to marketing. And together, every single time us three sit down and talk, we can talk for hours about business, about real estate, and about life, which is exactly what we did here, which is also why we split this conversation into a part one and a part two. Please keep in mind that everything we talk about here, this conversation was filmed back in December of 2023. So as we post this in February of 2024, I can already promise you that the market has changed and our individual businesses have changed as well. So I hope you enjoy this video. There are a lot of takeaways, a lot of great conversations here. We're going to sit and answer questions from our real estate colleagues, whether just in our market or in other markets around America. So we touch on a lot of great topics. And again, I hope you enjoy. Before I leave, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Make sure you like our video. We're trying to bring you more high value content, and your support would be much appreciated. So I hope you enjoy. Sit tight. This is part two.
What is the most creative, this is from Scott again, what is the most creative financing you have had to do? So for us, it's probably been sub 2. And then JVing with the seller that we got the sub 2 from.
So you sub 2 and JV in the same deal?
Yes. So we sub 2. So we took over the mortgage to make sure.
Should we explain what a sub 2 is first?
So we're purchasing the property subject to the mortgage. So we're actually taking over the mortgage, making the payments, taking care of the property. The property is actually ours.
So it's deeded in your name?
It's just still, the mortgage is still in the seller's name. So this particular deal, we took it over sub 2, we were making the mortgage payments, and we were rehabbing the property. And then when we sold it, we split the profits.
It's great. I love it.
Great deal. I would say one of my most creative, because what I do financing, so I do a lot of different kinds of deals, but we were talking earlier, I think one of my more creative was I had a lady buying multiple properties. I think she was buying 16 of them, but they were on the lower end of sales price. And so what we did, because anytime you're buying 16 properties, you got a lot of costs associated with that transaction, right? You got a lot of closing costs, a lot of appraisals, a lot of title work, a lot of everything, 16 different houses, right? So we figured out to do was she could get, and I don't remember whether it was 13 or 14 of them she could get for the same total dollar amount. The seller wanted X dollar amount, and it included those 16 properties. But if that X dollar amount could be fulfilled by mortgages on only 13 or 14 of those properties, we could buy the other properties for $1. Then she got some properties free and clear. She minimized, to the extent that we could, her expenses and her costs, and still the seller got what they wanted, and she got all 16 properties. So
I love it.
That is so cool.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then when you do that, you think to yourself, yes, when it works. You're thinking, okay, I think it'll work. And then it actually works, and you're like, yes, that one worked, right? And that's kind of fun, right?
Well, it is interesting being in this space too, and like there's like stuff you've never heard of before every year. And there's even like stuff I don't think any of us have ever heard before that comes out every year. So that's one of the coolest parts about real estate is how creative you can be.
Yeah.
It's definitely ever changing.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's like, like you said, there's so many things that we probably haven't even heard of, thought of, that we could be doing.
It's like novations just got popular.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they title things differently. Burr was always a thing until they titled it and stuff, but still the premise stands. It's always changing. And there's always stuff. Like JV with the sub 2, that's really cool to hear. And it makes sense, but you don't really put it
she'd
together.
have to explain it to me I'd have to hear it 2 or 3 times before I would.
Sure.
Yeah, I think we've done that twice. Yeah.
There is a creative, I'll say for a construction side, development side, you guys have both seen it. I think we took down a house and we split it 4 ways and built 4 single-family homes.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Oh,
Yeah, so
that is
that's-
cool. Yeah.
That's one cool thing about being in
So
development
the
too.
lot was
So you
big
made
enough.
4 times your money, basically, right?
Yeah, so you're buying it for, the idea is you're buying it, that house, for what you would purchase 4 pieces of land for. Plus, of course, the cost to demo the property,
Right,
stabilize the land. But yeah, you're just maximizing your possibilities
Yeah,
when
that's
you're able
awesome.
to split land,
But
subdivide
the key to
land.
make that one work was the lot was big enough that you could subdivide it before.
Yeah, so
That was the key.
a lot of background goes to it. You have to
Oh,
do
yeah.
research, talk to the city. But that's the coolest thing about being a developer. And in the future, that's the future of development because cities are getting all built out.
Yeah. You want to
So-
talk about that now?
Sure.
Let's talk about inventory. I think is something we're going to talk about later, but I think the high density. So we live near the city of Richmond. You do a lot of your construction there.
Mhm.
They recently have changed a lot of zoning to make it much easier because overall in the United States we have such short supply of inventory versus the number of people that need a place to live, whether you're a
Sure.
renter or you're a homeowner. We
Mhm.
still have more humans than we have houses for inventory.
Yeah.
So a lot of cities in the northwest, they changed some broad spanning zoning recently
Yeah.
there too.
California did too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think even, I can't stake my reputation on that, so I'll just stick with California.
Yeah, I know Washington State recently changed some
Okay.
zoning, like statewide, like
Mhm.
broad stroke there. So talking about inventory and how do you see, because the city it needs more housing, right? So what have they done, not the city specifically, but as a developer, you're bound to see laws now that we never saw before.
Yeah, they're talking about ADUs.
Accessory dwelling units.
Yeah, accessory dwelling units, that's right. So not the primary part where they
Yeah,
reside.
like a
but-
guest house in the back or
Exactly.
a room over the garage, and you're able to rent that to a college kid or
Yeah.
a single person, or
And that's
Anyway,
where it
really.
seems where a lot of these cities and states are starting with. They're starting with ADUs and they're starting with, you're right, just changing the zoning to allow for more density.
Yep.
They're also loosening, they're allowing more special use permits, which is a big part, more variances. They're a lot more lenient on that nowadays.
give me an example of that. Like, what would a special use do?
So if you have a lot that's zoned, let's say in the city it's R6, and I want to say R6 is 5,000 square feet minimum. Let's just say that's the case, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's right. And say you get a lot that's 4,000 square feet. Well, now that's just an empty
won't
lot,
work, right?
So back before they've had this problem with inventory, it was like, that's not going to work.
Now we
You
need to
just
make it
have
lot.
land, yeah. But now it's like, hey, I'm gonna go in, get a variance for that extra 1,000 square feet, get a special use permit, and this will allow me to build on that lot.
And
Yeah.
they're just much more open-minded to
Yeah.
how can we make it work versus sorry you can't do that.
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're a lot more accepting. It's a lot more, because part of it does when you do special use, you have to check with neighbors, check with the local neighborhood organizations,
Associations, usually, yeah.
associations. But now that's
They
a
don't do
lot-
that?
They do, but
Oh.
it's a lot more like, do we want this to happen?
Right.
It's less of a weight on what they care about. You
Yeah.
know, you just have to make them happy.
Right.
Most of the time, you can. But yeah,
Because they
so
want more housing.
yeah,
Housing leads to a bigger tax base too, which
Yeah.
helps them eventually.
that's
right?
100% why they do it.
That's-
Yeah,
it's
that's
all
why you see
about-
so much
yeah.
mixed use
Yep.
in apartments.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I actually went to a very, very interesting meeting with all the economic directors of I think it was Prince George, Richmond, Hopewell, Henrico, Chesterfield, everybody in the Metro Richmond area. And the biggest thing you got out of it is the reason that they're building all these multifamilies and apartments is because now they can get more taxes.
Yep, because they charge the commercial, and how they do that is they charge the commercial space higher taxes than they do the residential space.
Mhm.
So they're getting a little more, they're getting more for that first floor of retail space, coffee shop, dress shop, whatever it is, and the residential, versus if it was all residential, they wouldn't be getting as much revenue from it.
Yeah, so I mean, that is part of being a developer. You might love their direction, you might hate their direction of your local government. But if you listen to what they're saying, you can.
They're telling you what they want you to build.
want you to build.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you're building what they want you to build, they're more likely to It's
allow you
easier.
to do it.
It's an easier
you can
process.
get tax credits
Yep.
sometimes. You can get help from them.
Yep.
Sometimes they'll walk you through the permitting process.
Right.
Just
Right.
to
How can I help you? Give me what I want.
Yeah.
Like, let me help you. Help me.
Yeah, think about it. Single family, you have to build 500 houses to get the same taxes as some of these apartment So
Yep.
they're
Yeah.
like, we would rather just have somebody build that.
Yep.
I don't agree with it, but that's the way it is.
It's a dollar for dollar. It's what they're
Yeah.
looking for.
Mhm.
Well, and also too, think about this in the commercial space. They're not only charging that commercial owner higher taxes, but they're getting all the tax from their sales, whether it's restaurant sales, clothing
Yeah.
sales. So they're making taxes in multiple
It's a
ways
great
in that
point.
commercial space.
Yeah,
Whereas us Joe Schmoes just living somewhere, we're just, you know,
right.
yeah, paying our real estate tax.
It's a really
Yeah.
good point. Yeah.
All right, what's our next question?
What are you seeing? This is from Jeff Nichols. What are you seeing in the market right now? So,
This kind of
There-
goes with what we were talking
yeah, there are a lot of pieces to this actually. There's a psychology aspect,
Oh, yes.
there's an inventory aspect, and an economics aspect of this. So,
So
Who did
I'm
the inventory.
always focused on inventory. So this is perfect for me. Huh? No, so inventory's been a problem for years and years and years. It's like every single month it's like, oh, we just beat a record of low inventory. I've seen, and I haven't checked the numbers, so you might be able to fact check me on this, but anecdotally, in the neighborhoods that we are building in, we've seen a rapid increase in inventory. And again, I don't know if that's national, that is in our market, and I haven't checked the national numbers on it. But I guess, what was the question again?
what are you
Changes
seeing in the market right now?
Oh, so that is, yeah, I'm seeing inventory go up. I think inventory is going up not because more people are like coming out with flips and builds, it's because houses are sitting on the market. And you can
a
tell
little
that,
longer.
yeah, you can tell that because the average days on market is growing and growing and growing, and you're seeing houses drop in price very consistently. So this is, like if you look at Churchill, Northside, these are neighborhoods in Richmond. I used to look at, let's say, go on Zillow, you see a few houses for sale. Now when you pull it up, it's just like a swarm of houses for sale. But they're not like great houses, right? They're these houses that people are putting on the market. My only guess would be maybe the fact that savings is dropping for Americans and credit
Maybe they
cards
need-
are
So you're saying
increasing.
maybe they need to sell their house
liquidate.
because they can't.
Do
Yeah.
you think maybe people are trying to liquidate because they're thinking the market's gonna drop and they're trying to get that high?
Certainly could be part of it.
Or maybe they're also just putting it out there to see if they get it.
Yeah, it's also, you know, again, maybe it is something where it's not like they're putting more on the market, but more houses are not being purchased, so they're just sitting there, you know. So I was looking at, there was like a couple really interesting graphs I was looking at, which was inventory, but then you're looking at days on market, and if you put those two together, it's a really good tell of, are we actually bringing more houses to the market, or are
They're
houses
just
just
sitting
sitting
longer.
and they're not selling?
Right.
So we're like more east of Richmond, right?
Mhm.
And they're not sitting. In fact, they're
Interesting.
bringing more money. I mean, they're still
I definitely think there's pockets where they're selling. So
Yeah.
to answer,
mainly new builds though too.
What's that?
Mainly
New
new
builds.
builds.
I think there's a difference.
Oh, there's a
between
lot
new
of custom
construction and-
homes
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
yeah, in your area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that overall nationally, the data says that inventory is increasing, but in very small increments,
Mhm.
not like it should. It's very small increments. And then as far as days on market, that's increasing too, but again in small increments.
Mhm.
I think, and you and I have had this conversation, I think psychologically, people, I think people are exhausted, right?
Yeah.
So for the past 3+ years, you know, the market's been volatile, rates have gone up, cost of housing has gone up, so you kind of have a double whammy of, it's gonna cost me more to buy a house at a higher rate, so now my payment's that much, it's not just a little more, it's that much more
Yeah.
because it costs more and it costs more because of the rate.
Yeah.
So I think and people were making offers, and I knew of young couples who were making 20 offers and not getting any of their offers accepted. I think people like that, and then to your point of their savings has gone down, credit card, we're now at $1 trillion in credit card
Yeah,
debt,
that's
right?
wild.
We're at national lows again on savings rate. So I tried 20 times to buy a house, it didn't work out. Okay, I give up, I'm just gonna sit on the sideline. Well, now while I've been sitting on the sideline, I've still been spending more than I should, so on my credit cards, I haven't been saving as much, and now I still have to go buy a house that costs more at a higher rate. I just give up.
Yeah.
So I do think there's a lot of that. I do think there's a lot of people who were putting their house on the market and then quitting. Not that we like quitters, but they're quitting after like a month. It didn't sell, you know, because the psychology of it is they were used to what it was like 2 years ago when it sold in a day, it sold in 2 days over ask price, right? So I think maybe they're putting it on the market for too much, or after 30 days they've lowered it a couple times and it still hasn't sold, and they say, okay, I just give up, I'm going to take it off the market.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of adjustment that the consumer, the realtors, us as investors, lenders, I think we all kind of need to, there's going to be a new normal, right? And I don't think our brains have caught up yet to what the new normal is going to be.
How about foreclosures?
Foreclosures are still at a 40-year low.
Okay.
Wow.
I do hear people say this foreclosure is happening, that foreclosure is happening. I think last month it was up, and don't quote me on this, but it was either 0.2 or 2%. It was a really minor amount, and we're still at a 40-year low. It's like 2.8% of all the mortgages in the United States are going into some kind of delinquency, meaning 30-day late, 60-day late, 120-day late foreclosures. You know, but you also think about it's some crazy number like 40% of all the homes in America have no mortgage on them. That's never happened in our lifetime. Yeah. So we've never had that happen. So you have people who don't have to move.
Yeah.
Why would I move? Why would I go sell my house, buy a more, or keep it as a rental? But why would I go buy a more expensive house at a interest rate that's 6, 7, 8% when I don't have a mortgage right now?
Yeah.
So
and most people who have a mortgage are sitting on their 3%.
Yep.
And I
It was a
think
crazy
that number is
percent.
like 80%.
Yeah, it was a
which
crazy
is
percent
literally
that's-
leaving 20% that's vulnerable.
Yep.
Which is pretty crazy. That's very interesting.
So I do think there's things that are different right now in time that haven't existed before that are impacting how people are thinking about
Psychology, this is like the first time I've seen it in play with interest rates especially. They started raising last year, like last October, something like that. You can see immediately the psychological effect.
Yes.
And then every time it goes up and down, you can see immediately. There's whispers about next year dropping rates, and the market's already adjusting, I would imagine, right? Again, these are all whispers.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just so fast, it's all psychology. Right?
Yeah, so in the past 6 weeks, and so today is December, what is today?
15?
15.
Is it 15th? So today is December 15th, 2023. And for the last 6 weeks, the market has been coming down. So we were at a height, maybe it was like 7.97, I think, according to MBA, Mortgage Bankers Association. I do the weekly economic update, and so we keep track of it, right? And so as about 6 weeks ago, we were at the height, and don't quote me on the 6 weeks, but it's been about that. And since then, it's been coming down. So the market realizes, market being the stock market, the overall economic market that we live in, they realize that inflation is getting under control. And they're kind of jumping the gun a little, they being the market, is kind of jumping the gun a little bit and saying, hey, things are better. So the bond market is this, the treasury market is that, and so rates are starting to come down. The Fed came out this week and said, whoa, 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 slow down, slow your roll a little bit, right? And the Fed came out and said, look, we don't think we're going to start cutting rates till mid next year. Because what happens is the market's getting a little excited. You know, the market tends to be forward thinking, right? Watching what's going to happen and then reacting accordingly. And so rates are coming down pretty fast.
That is fascinating. Because you would imagine that if rates come down too early, what are we going to have again? Inflation. And nobody's going to be able to purchase houses because maybe your rate comes down, but the house is just going to shoot up in price.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm worried about as soon as they start lowering it, that we're just going to go through a short period of inflation. But if they do it too early, then you've got even bigger problems.
Well, it would be recession, really. So typically in a recession, and there's a lot of leading indicators right now that are telling us that we probably have already started the recession. Maybe it's a shallow one, maybe it's not a painful one, but it's a little one. Probably we've already started. If not, all the indicators say we should be in one in the next few months. The recession typically lowers mortgage rates, which typically leads to a nice little boom for us in the mortgage industry.
Yeah, so it's a good thing.
So we'll see. It's definitely different than we've ever had before.
You're right, yeah. And there's so many other factors involved, and
Yep.
then you start talking about stuff we're not qualified to talk about. But,
That's right. That's right. Or things we don't want to be wrong about. And
Yeah,
stuff.
that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
From a marketing standpoint, we have a lot of people who are mailing, who are texting. So as far as sellers go, a lot of deals coming in.
So you're
Oh, yeah.
noticing an increase in deal flow.
We've
Would you
already
say that?
seen it.
Mhm.
Yeah?
Yeah, for sure. So Corey sends out 100 messages a day,
Texting.
texting.
Okay.
He also sends out mailers.
Through your CRM, I assume.
Yes.
Okay.
He also sends out mailers, and he did not send messages for probably about a week or so. And he started back, and he got 2 contracts this week.
Really?
Actually, in one day, yesterday. He got
Wow.
2 contracts
You
yesterday.
know one thing I will say, and I have found this to be the case last year and this year, so I don't know if it's coincidental or I don't know, but this time of year, December, right? This time of year
It's
for
true.
some reason
Yeah.
can sometimes be really good for investors.
Yeah.
I don't think there's as much competition. I don't think people are caught up in the holiday. It's getting cold out. I think it is cold outside. You know, so I think that people get caught up with other things right now. So I think there's less competition. But I think it's still, I mean, most of our investors, if you're a full-time professional investor, you're buying or looking at a house constantly all the time. To your point, the consistency. You're constantly looking at it. So that it happens to be December, you're still looking, but there's less other people maybe looking. And so maybe you either get more deals or I don't know.
We've also gotten 2 contracts off emails. So when we first started emailing, it was just for basically brand awareness, right?
Mhm.
Just to let people know, like another touch point, let people
Right.
know, you know,
You
we're
exist.
here, yeah. And right away, we got
Huh.
2 contracts. You know, another thing too is we love our realtors, but some people just want money right now.
Mm.
And so if we can close in 2 weeks, then they're like, okay, I have money to pay this bill,
Mhm.
you know?
And you know, that might lead to, as we talk about every week on Jim's call, shout out to Jim Ingersoll. Every week on Jim's call, we talk about, every month we talk about unemployment. More people are getting part-time jobs for economic reasons than I don't know when, right? So you've got the wages are not going up at the rate they were. They're not coming down, but they're not going up at the rate that they were. Unemployment is kind of hovering around under the 4% range, but there's a lot more people getting a part-time job for economic reasons, which means they can't pay their bills.
Yeah.
They have to go get another job to make ends meet. Maybe that's why they want the cash so quickly.
Yeah, I mean,
Just a
it does, I guess it's Christmas time too, you know?
Right.
But
yeah.
I've definitely seen, and I'm just speaking on Corey's because
Right.
he would
That's what
allow
you
me
know.
to. He's fine with that. But we have a lot of other, you know, members that are getting contracts in like crazy right now.
Yeah.
Huh.
Different areas in the country, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But so it's location first of all, and it's criteria,
Yeah.
and being very specific. And I talk about this too all the time. So there's a lot of people who do mass marketing. They'll send 10,000 messages a day. You know, we're literally sending 100 messages a day.
Yeah.
For us, we've done the 10,000, and we've done now we're redo 100. We've done 100, I guess, when he started back a couple weeks ago, back with his marketing. For me, even though all of our follow-up is automated, it's quality over quantity.
Oh yeah.
We're being super specific on our criteria. that
So
we're
you're
following.
so through the CRM, it's identifying I want to hit this, and this person. It's finding those people and then texting those people.
Texting or mailing or emailing. And it also depends on
So you're being pickier about
how
who
they're
you
tagged in the system,
Yeah.
depending on, you know, how we want to reach out to them.
Right. Who are you interested in reaching?
We might have to call them.
I'm a big fan of that. And I'm not the person I'm not a wholesaler marketer. I've dabbled with all of it. But I noticed it when I was doing more marketing, more acquisitions myself. It was almost pointless to reach out to 50% of the people we reached out. Well, almost. It was completely pointless. But people like to call the homeowner that has no reason to sell and just have a conversation and waste their time. I'm a big fan of like It's the Jordan Belfort straight line type selling. The idea behind it is, you know, in the movie they say, "Can you sell me this pen?" And if you actually listen to his sales techniques, his book, and what he actually says about that whole scene is, it's not about saying this is the nicest pen that writes so well. It's about first finding out if that person needs a pen, and that's kind of the idea behind quality over quality over quantity.
Yeah.
Which is you're trying to reach out to people who have a higher chance of actually needing your services, as opposed to just marketing to 100% of the world.
Right.
Because it is funny how like my family will get postcards about selling their house for cash as is. They live in like a new construction suburb,
Right.
and they're never going to sell their
Right.
house for cash.
But the trick is though, how do you find the people that need the pen?
And that's Allie's question.
Right.
Mhm.
That's the trick to it all.
Yeah,
Okay.
So
that's where the
Corey's
criteria comes
identifying,
in.
right.
Yeah.
Yep, the very specific criteria, which I think it takes some experience and time to learn what that criteria is for you.
Trial and error,
Not
definitely.
just, it's not, one criteria is not gonna work for everyone.
Right.
You know, so what criteria is the best for you? Junior says,
Junior.
y'all know Junior?
Junior work,
Yeah, he's cool. What are the best ways to utilize the CRM? So, I think we've all used a CRM, probably currently still using CRM.
Use yours.
I use yours.
And so, just an example, we did a lot of marketing through your CRM with social media. We did email, texting, all that, for the Rehabbers Playbook.
Yeah.
Tell us about the Rehabbers Playbook and what we were even marketing for.
So the Rehabbers Playbook, basically is coaching, education, and a network for rehabbers and builders. And it's something that I saw as a vacancy in the market as a rehabber, builder, even a contractor back in the day. I was trying to find places where I can find information on construction costs, on how to create a scope of work, the best templates, finding contractors, contracts, all that stuff, and there's no good information out there. And in addition to that, there's very few even coaches and people who will educate you on it. So I saw that as kind of like an open part of the market. I saw this years ago, and I was like, if somebody doesn't build it out by the time I've systemized this, I'm going to build it out. So built it out. We have courses, video courses. We have a private Facebook group. You get hundreds of construction cost estimates. You get all of our templates. We can help you with new construction templates, full gut renovations, cosmetic renovations. Literally, the idea behind it is if you are actively rehabbing or building houses, we have everything you need to be comfortable and confident and successful.
And it's geographically specific.
No, it's we have people from
Yeah, it's nationwide.
we
No, but I
probably
mean,
have
so
30
like if I'm here
states
in
now.
Richmond, my
Oh,
numbers
your
would be different than maybe
resources.
if I
Yes,
were,
yeah, but we track that. You know, we have a construction cost database,
Right.
thousands and
And so
thousands
you
of
know
data
how much
points.
does it cost in Dayton, Ohio
California,
versus
LA, Atlanta. So we try to focus on markets our people are in.
Right.
But at this point, we're
Ooh,
in,
that's good information.
and at this point we're in 30 different states, probably 50 plus different markets when it comes to our members. So
Right.
it's hard to keep up with everything. But we do really good at showing people, okay, if you're in this market, you're going to expect this difference in material, this
Right.
difference in labor.
Probably
we
a
track a lot.
percentage difference, right?
It is, yeah. So this is interesting for everybody. You'd actually be surprised by how little material varies in most
Really?
markets in America. Yeah, if you look at LA and Richmond, very similar material costs.
You
It's
think
the
because
labor.
they're coming from the same
Supplier.
manufacturer, suppliers.
I guess so. I don't know that much. We try to even figure out why, but it was a shock to us. We tracked thousands of calls from both markets, and the differences were like in
Minimal.
20 data points, and there were like just a few dollars.
But the
difference each.
labor.
The
Big
labor
difference.
is very different.
Yeah.
So we track cost of living, real estate prices, construction material, cost to build prices, and we just factor all that in to help out with labor. So if you're in LA, you're actually expecting 20 to 30% more labor, which is somewhat accurate with cost of living differences, with other factors thrown in there. But if you're on the southeast, we're all very similar. Northeast is a little different, so.
I would imagine too with the Rehabbers Playbook that your reports, like I as a lender, I want to see a detailed budget or a detailed bid of what work needs to go into this house. Your reports are beautiful. It's obvious what are we doing to this house. Here's the flooring, here's the countertop, here's the I'm doing a bottom grade or a top grade. I mean, reports to lenders are very important as to do I think that you know what you're doing? That's important.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because what's interesting, I never really expected this, but lenders reach out to me as much as anybody. Lenders reach out to me to teach their borrowers how to make budgets, because they've seen my budgets.
Because the average investor doesn't know how to make a good budget.
That's right, and they want to see the scope of work the same way I kind of build it out, the budget the same way. And we partner with Rehab Valuator a lot with Daniel. So he helps with all those reports. I mean, it's his software.
The reports are beautiful.
Yeah, but we help teach people how to use the reports and all really the detail they need to know and need to include for their lenders. So yeah, we have a bunch of lenders who just are members or are members to teach their guys, or they refer their borrowers to us to be members.
So a couple things about that. Your community is amazing. So there's people in there asking questions all the time, and always people there to answer them. And what I also love is you said there's lenders, there's other contractors, there's all types of industries within your community, and they're experts in their field, right? But they're there to learn how to be better in the things that they're doing in their investment properties, in their businesses. You know, so it's really cool to actually read the posts in your group and the comments and how people are engaging and helpful with each other. And you're in there too every day. You're always on there to answer questions, and that's phenomenal, because it's not really your job. That's just something you enjoy doing and something that you're offering too.
I appreciate you saying that, because that's something I'm probably the most proud of, is the group. And I give credit to the group all the time. And I've said this on other places before, but part of the reason of building the group was not because I'm like, oh, I have everything to teach. Is that there's so much to learn that if we get a group of people together constantly teaching each other, I can do my job of organizing it and giving it out. But that's more the idea behind it, is I don't believe I'm an expert at everything. I believe I have certain skill sets, but yeah, the strength is from the group. And you're right, we have developers, contractors, lenders, flippers, builders, everything's in that group. People from, like we said, all over America, and it's really, really cool. So yeah, I enjoy it, and that's also, it kind of goes back to what we talked about in the beginning, about finding something that you love to do. This was a vision I had a couple years ago, which was, I want to picture my life. What do I like doing? Well, I like this business. I want to be around it. I love the people in this business. I think we can all kind of relate to that. So that all came together, and I was like, I can kind of build my life to helping other people, them helping me, and they could all be around something that I'm pretty good at.
You know, we were talking about whether people who have full-time jobs versus doing real estate investing full-time. And what's cool about your group is that there's a lot of people in your group actually that still have full-time W-2 jobs.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, this isn't their full-time job, and they can go find all the information they need, you know, as they're learning how to do these projects, how they're learning how to do real estate investing. You know, there's people that just don't do this full-time. And, you know, it's not just for full-time investors. And then one more thing, your coaching calls. So do you do that every week?
Every week, every Tuesday.
What time?
12.
12 o'clock, Tuesdays.
Yeah, Tuesdays.
And how would people find you?
Well, they'd have to be a member.
Oh.
So
How
members,
do they become a member?
The REHABBE'S Playbook.com. If I say it right, you'll go to the right place. So the REHABBE'S Playbook.com. You can sign up there. You'll see how, for everything we just talked about, you'll see how cheap it is. I try my best to keep it very affordable, because I don't want.
Well, this isn't your job. This is something
exactly.
a way for you to add value.
It's just, that's right. So and once you join, you get 6 months of membership. You get all of everything that we talked about, plus the weekly training calls, and those are great. We go really, really deep into a handful of different topics: permitting, inspections, new construction, subdividing land, splitting land, you know, budgeting, scheduling, all that stuff. So it's great. It's a lot of fun.
So cool.
Cool.
Thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
And I think,
Shameless plug. Yeah.
and I would say for Alie and myself, we both are really proud and excited that you've figured out this is your thing, that you
Thank you.
enjoy it.